Back again. I saw a video today that uh, I thought I need to share it with you. You will see it down below. You can take a look at it. It's the video is related to a renowned doctor. He's not a medical doctor, but he has done a lot of scientific research, and uh, and they've put him in jail. And you can watch the video and see what it's all about. Okay, but it's if what he says and if the people around him, if what they say is true, then this is a great injustice, and it's a little disgusting. No, it's not a little disgusting. It's immensely disgusting. Um, it's amazing how we give power to people who we don't know. We don't know them very well, but they have official credentials. They're an MD. They're a PhD. They're a certified. I'm a certified landscape architect. Okay, I'm a registered landscape architect. That keeps you from being able to come into my state and call yourself a landscape architect. They'll put you in jail. Okay, but and that's what it does. Okay, we have professions who have garnered power that way. Now, I'm a little bitty profession, and it has very little power. But there are very large professions who hold a lot of power, and they make a lot of decisions on all kind of things in your life that you don't even know about. It's their membership, their people who are doing it, and they pretty much make the rules for all kind of things. They make the rules for what, basically, to a degree, what I can do. Okay, because I couldn't, even though I could do what they could do possibly. I can't call myself what they are. Okay? I'm not complaining about that. I'm just trying to say that we have a society that is organized around these certifications and professional licensing, etc. And to a large degree, that's for our public safety. So there's good reasons for that. The question comes is who's in control of all of these things, and why are they in control of them possibly, and that what's the power behind it all. So but as I think about it, did Socrates have a medical degree from the University of Athens? We have all kind of scientists and etc. Leonardo da Vinci, what degree did he have? Right? So to have a degree is all fine and dandy. There's people who have degrees who are idiots. All right, they're they can't. They're not what you call smart. I used to think smart meant intelligent. I finally realized by the time I was middle-aged that smart meant that you understood how to function. Okay, little old ladies used to call me and my brother smart. You're smart boys, and I thought, I don't know what you're talking about. How do you know what kind of grades I make in school? No, they were saying, you kids know how to do work. My in the club I participated in for a good while, my kids would come and help out with cookouts and things. And hey, they were smart. The guy who ran the cookouts, he loved them. They knew how to get things done. The other members of the club, they were worthless. They didn't seem to have any motivation or interest or ability. Okay, so some people are smart. You don't have to have a degree, and having a degree means nothing. And if you can, just because you know how to pass tests, doesn't mean you can function in the real world potentially. Okay, or come up with new things. It depends on what you need to do. Again, I was happy on a professional level for myself because for when I first got into a profession, because I knew that I really looked to find out what the answers to reality were. I did. I really researched things. I talked to if I'll just give you an example. Palm trees. How do you maintain and deal with palm trees? How do you prune a palm tree? And I ended up talking to the one professor at the University of Florida International University or wherever it was. The guy who was a real expert on same thing with uh, another flowering tree. Which one was tababuya? You can't grow tababuyas anywhere. There's all kind of tababuyas. Which one are you going to grow? And I would call up a nursery and talk to nursery, and I'd find out very shortly because I would ask stupid questions until I started getting the answers, I knew the answers, and I'd ask the questions, and they'd reveal that they knew nothing about tababuyas. People know nothing about how to prune a palm. They butcher them all the time. As far as the way you really need to for the health of the palm, I mean, you can do all kind of things to plants. Anyway, I'm getting off track there, but my point I'm trying to make is, oh, anyway, I was saying I was happy because I knew that I knew that what I was working at, I was giving the best plans I could, with the best information, the best science behind things, and then they came along and said, okay, now you have to start taking CEUs, okay. Well, what did they do? That sort of leveled the playing field to a degree. That meant there were other people who didn't bother to do as much research as I did naturally, that they were having to learn things, that they were having to go to seminars and learn about stuff. So that was good for the profession. Okay. Uh, that's the good thing about professions, if that's what your profession is doing. Now, of course, you can take all kind of silly things that have nothing to do with some of the things you deal with. I don't take a course on everything I deal with every year. Every year I don't. Anyway, uh, so I don't intend to uh, smear the teaching profession, but have you ever had a teacher that clearly lacked knowledge, that clearly had the ability to express knowledge, who didn't seem to be able to uh, think straight? I mean, I know the people in my high school know of teachers who they were like just wacky. Okay. Uh, and you might have run into a college professor that way, maybe even. But I'm not saying that all teachers are wacky. Um, my point simply is to have an education, have a formal education. This is the point I'm trying to make. Having a formal education does not necessarily mean people are smart, okay? And therefore, smart people don't necessarily need to have a formal education. And I remember growing up, one of the kids in my class, he read like a fiend. He read, read, read. That boy read all the time. Well, when you read that much, you're just absorbing knowledge. You know, if you like reading, that's a great thing. You can absorb a lot of knowledge. That, of course, that's supposed to be what happened with Abraham Lincoln, right? Uh, which might have been a myth, partly a myth, but the point is, you can learn on your own if you're a smart person, if you apply yourself, and there's all kind of knowledge you can learn. Um, that person, and you may know people similarly who were smart. You could tell they were really smart kids in elementary school or high school, the smartest kids in your class. You knew it. And yet, uh, maybe if you, as you've watched them go through life, you thought, well, this guy's going to end up being, the president of the United States, or at least, a doctor or a lawyer or some other, high-end professional, kind of what our society considers a higher-end professional kind of person. Or maybe you're the head of a big company or something like that. You would expect that of them, but that wasn't their interest necessarily. Maybe they'd just like to go fishing. Maybe they love the environment, and they sit out there and learn about creation out there on the lake, and that satisfies them, and that's fine. But my point is, they certainly clearly had the ability to excel above most people. I've dealt with a medical profession now for many years, and I've become convinced that many have tunnel vision, and more importantly, their focus on on avoiding lawsuits, and therefore following narrow prescriptions of things that we call professional standards. See, if you don't follow that professional standard, even if it's narrow, stupid, doesn't apply to biological sense, but it's what the profession is doing, it's what the AMA is currently pushing, or the American Heart Association is pushing, then, it's poo-pooed. And this is dangerous. And it's particularly dangerous as we know now. My father had a heart attack, or had heart attacks, from the time I was in high school. And they put him on a diet. You couldn't eat any butter or fat or anything. No salt. Guess what? That's all bunk. Now they know it's bunk. That was the professional standard. And there's some organizations still pushing that. Okay? But it's not true. Eat all the butter you want to. Butter's good for you. All right? There's plenty of professionals who will tell you butters are good for you. Maybe not the organization that is certifying the doctor you're going to. Maybe that's it. Maybe not the. Maybe it's not the standard that my doctors are part of corporations. They have to do what the corporation tells them to do. The corporation don't want to get any lawsuits, because all people sue you about anything, right? So to cover their butts, it's not that it's good science. In fact, there's no science behind it at all. Some of this stuff. But to cover their butts from lawsuits, they do professional standards. I have been involved myself in writing standards or code, part of code committees or specifications with my own business and for my profession. And I go to seminars to make sure I'm learning how to do these things well, right? You need to follow professional standards, because you don't want to get it into a law, have anybody be able to sue you for whatever they might sue you for. So as long as you follow the professional standards, you're covering your butt. That's all that is. It's not good science. It's not good anything. All right. I have dealt here recently with one of our local agencies on their particular code requirements. It's not based on science. It never was, and they just picked it up and they just played with it for a while. For a few years, it was voluntary to do it, and then they made it mandatory to do it. But it's not based on science. That is, you can say, and this is the problem with what we call science. People say, the sun, today the sun is directly overhead. Therefore, the sun is always over your head. But we know that it's not. I mean, I'm just trying to give you an example, because we know that in another part of the year, the sun is down closer to the horizon, right? So you can throw out a truth that the sun is in the sky above you, but it's not always in the sky. That's just not always true. And this is the way it is with so much of what gets thrown around as science. Because, yes, one thing could be true and another thing is equally true, and therefore it nullifies the thing that you say is true. That's what it comes down to. So I had a discussion with my wife today about this particular kind of thing. There's stuff that we have been taught all our whole lives. I was talking to her about how we are electrical beings. Nobody's going to deny that who's a scientist, who knows anything about science. We're electrical, and we're energy. And when you get down into the molecules, they're energy, aren't they? That's the way to describe it. But hey, this is a finger. That's a nose. That's not energy, is it? Well, of course, it's a nose, but it's energy. There's just piles of energy right there in my nose, right? Things go bing, 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 bing. All that. How this all works, there's theories, but the point simply is that I was making to her is that, look, and I was trying to say, hey, some people say go outside and walk on the grass with bare feet, because there's energy in the earth. Don't wear tennis shoes. Don't wear shoes. get connected with the earth. There's energy that naturally flow. The whole of the universe is energy. Go out and the reason I was talking to her about this is I was watching an astrophysicist on who puts out videos on every recently, and the sun is really acting up big time right now. If you know anything about astrophysics and what's going on, so the sun is just pounding us with all this energy, and he was saying you need to get outside and take advantage of that energy that the sun is sending you. And he was talking about it in some philosophical kind of way, but obviously this energy comes from the sun all the time, so it can't be bad for us, can it? Anyway, so this guy, he is not a scientist, okay? He has a PhD. I can't remember what it's in. Take a look. But he is a renowned person, and you watch the video and go watch all the way to the end of it, where they have a little video about what he's done over his life. And Barack Obama invited him to the White House to talk about his ideas. Was Obama inviting a flake, a crazy lunatic? I don't think so. I don't think he would have done that. So, and yet he's in jail today because he helped somebody. And then you just have to listen to how they passed a law and they convicted him, came up with a new certification, and then they convicted him retroactively. Bad stuff. We need to know. You might not be interested in these things in your own personal life. It might not touch you in a direct way, but it touches you in roundabout ways, whether you like it or not. And we need to know what's going on in the world around us, so that maybe one day you need to stand up and I need to stand up and do something about it in some circumstance, right? Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. And you want to be dealing with the truth? I want to be dealing with the truth. That's what I in most videos saying, if you care about the truth and that's all you want to know, well, I'm confident you can ask your creator to help you find it, and you will. I feel very confident about that. Anyway, take a look at the video, see what this renowned doctor is about, and it's sort of a crazy story, but one I think we need to be aware of. Have a good day.